the Valley of the Incas is because in our mythology, the snow mountains were considered deities. Incas worship them to this area. We are like 4,000 people available, doesn't resist any bad smell, or if any bad smell in the room. And then all food, because we have to make this food into free. We don't spend money in the expensive baby rice. It's a lady never cook a lady. So Camila, a lady working on this in the fields, all the time they spin the wool. And they are not lazy, remember, for Incas. And are very even. Right. You know, the Incas ones are very even.
Last hotel sleep before the Inca Trail. About to go to the city to get some cash. It's nice. It's very nice actually. Oops. But oh really? Avon Inca Trail.
It's very bright, but there is a glacier right there named Veronica. Over 5,000 meters, 5,800 meters, almost 16.
You don't look backwards, you miss them.
So I'm back in London now. It's been say 2 weeks. I think it's been 2 weeks since my trip. And I look back at the videos and I realize, well, I knew this anyways, that the trail in itself is quite challenging, physically challenging. So I didn't take that much content, and I also didn't really talk too much because, you know, I'm camping, I'm in a tent, and I'm very close to the other people, and I just didn't feel comfortable to do it whilst I was away. So I thought I would just kind of like fill in some gaps and just give a little summary of some of the days. So day one was, we were doing 11-kilometer distance, and our starting elevation was at 2,600 meters. And it was about like 5.5 hours of hiking was planned that day. So it's kind of like the easiest, but because we're like just getting used to the altitude, it felt like quite challenging. And the sun is hot, but the air is cold. But the sun is like very hot. The UV is very high. I would just like keep an eye on my heart rate and wait till it got to a point to be around like 170 or close to like 165 or 170, and then I would pause, wait for it to go down to like 150, 140, and then keep going. And that's kind of like how I was taking day one. And yeah, it was fine. There's lots of like toilet stops, so you need cash, like $1 to use the bathroom, and you pack toilet paper anyways, but they also give you toilet paper.
So cute.
Day one's pretty chill, and then we had like an amazing spot
This is our campsite.
by this local village.
Oh, that's
A
smart.
great view, but the guide had told
Having
us
dinner.
that unfortunately our first night fell on a particular celebration that happens like all over Peru, night one and night two, and that the locals would be partying all night, and which is quite hilarious because it's quite small. There's not many people that live there, and they had these massive speakers, and they literally partied all night and blasted music all night. So I didn't sleep at all on the first night. I think it was more like I just couldn't find myself comfortable enough to really, just fall asleep. I'm sure I like lightly slept a little bit, but my sleep score on my watch was like, it was pretty bad. I was like 28 out of 100, or maybe on the first night it was a bit higher. No, I think it was 28. And we had early mornings because we started, I think I woke up at 6 a.m. that morning. Or was it 5 a.m.? I can't even remember.
In the clouds.
So day two was the day that I really suffered. So day two was meant to be 12-kilometer distance, and then we peak like the highest point at 4,215 meters, and that's where you go over Dead Woman's Pass, and then you camp at 3,500 meters, so that is like quite high. So when we got to 3,800 meter, I was actually doing okay up to that point. There's lots of stairs, so I was glad I used the Stairmaster before this trip. But after that point, I just got hit by the altitude sickness, because I felt like I was going to shit my pants and throw up at the same time. And one of the people on the trip gave me his anti-diarrhea tablets, so I took 2 of those, which were the only ones he had. Bless him, so nice, because I knew I had to get them, but I didn't get around to finding some in time for my trip, so I didn't have any with me, but everyone kind of told me that they had some, so I figured if I could just ask someone if I could have some of theirs. And so I took that, but it just really slowed me down, and at this point I was the slowest person in our group, and the guide was kind of waiting with me and asking me if I was like feeling faint, And I was like, no, it's just, I was basically just trying to like keep my bum hole together so that I wouldn't poo myself, because my whole digestive system was not having a good time. So I got to the top, the views are amazing, but I took basically hardly any content this day, especially on going up, because it's just stairs and you need to hold on to your walking poles, and then it's just relentless stairs. Like, you're exhausted, like your heart is just beating so fast, and you're trying to get as much oxygen as possible. We made it to the top, and I had to sit down for a while until I felt well enough that I could then, like, you know, take some pictures and appreciate like the amazing view that we could see. And then we started, so that was actually the only point during the whole trail that I had the thought in my head, like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is, like, I'm really suffering here. Like, my stomach is just not handling this. And I was like, well, but then I think, like, I don't know how you stop at this point, because, like, there's no, I mean, you have to go down, I guess, but then you go up. And so I just thought, like, just keep taking a few steps at a time and you'll get to, like, the highest point. And from that point onwards, it should be fine. There was no stop for lunch, so, like, we just had to, like, you know, carry as much water and snacks as possible. And I ran out of water once I got to the top that day. I think I filled up 2 liters in the Camelback, and then I had another 500 ml in a bottle, which I finished pretty quickly. But yeah, I made it. And once we started descending, I actually felt better basically instantly. And I found going down, like downhill down the stairs, quite easy, because it didn't involve any like heart rate, because yeah, your heart's not in it. Like, it's just so low. Like, your watch says that you're like not even really doing anything. It was in the warming up phase. And then we made it back to camp at 4:30, but we were supposed to make it back at 2:30. So it was like a combination of me being slow on the uphill and some of the others being slow on the downhill. That meant we like finished a lot later than we were meant to. So we had lunch at this point, and then we had to have dinner again pretty soon after. And 2 of the others just stayed asleep because they were too tired. But I knew, like, I needed the calories, because I don't work out for hours and hours back to back. So I made an effort to stay awake. But then it was much colder at 3,800 meter altitude, so I was like wearing all my layers, and I did wear them to bed as well.
It's very cold. Rabbi, last night was warm.
I wasn't like suffering from the cold, but I did feel cold, like noticeably cold, and I was glad I brought something for my head, because I think that made a big difference. And yeah, at this point on day 2, after 3,800 meters, it was just like drop toilets from that point onwards. And honestly, I feel like going to the toilet in the bush is much easier than the drop toilets when you are trying not to like pee or poo on your trousers, because they're in the way. Like, I'd like to take them off, but you've got like your hiking shoes on, and then the floor's wet. So I think that's the most challenging part. If I just have to squat, then it's fine. But it's just the trousers. What else?
No, very well working toilets yesterday after the pass.
Uh-huh.
On the other side, there is another trail not visible that goes on top of the stream there. And there is another trail that down to the valley. A different place. After this, I got lost.
It's our campsite. Worshipping the sun. Check out that view.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, so day 2 was meant to be 7 hours of hiking, but then we took 9 hours. And then day 3, 16 kilometers, and the highest point we got to was 3,950 meter altitude. And then we camped at 2,500 meters. So since day 3, it was kind of like we went up and then it's mostly down. I knew that the highest we're getting to was 3,900, which is much lower than day 2 when I started feeling unwell. So I knew like if I just kind of like took deep breaths and made sure I was like getting that oxygen, then I'd be fine. And I was actually, I didn't really have any issues from that point onwards. I actually found I could feel myself like getting used to the altitude because I didn't really need to stop anymore. I could just slow down my steps when I was ascending the stairs or climbing stairs, and that would be enough for my heart rate to go down enough that it never really got to like how high it was getting on day 1. So on day 2 my heart rate actually wasn't getting that high because I felt so like sick that was stopping me from really like moving. But yeah, most of the day 3 was downhill, which yeah, I found quite easy then. And I was just like trying to make it like a bit of a game, like which like stone to put my foot on and try to like push my weight, like if this makes sense, like going step, step, step. So then it felt like a bit easier on my knees than going like really putting the weight on each step. So that was quite fun. And then, yeah, so day 3 was the longest day. It was meant to be, I want to say 10 hours of hiking in total. And I think we weren't too much later.
Fun spot. Ah.
Somehow the Incas colonized
But we had an early dinner because the last day, day 4, is the shortest day. It's only like 2 or 2.5 hours of hiking, but we wake up at 3 a.m. and it's mostly for the porters, I believe, that they have to like catch a specific train. So they make us breakfast. Well, it's just like, it's a very light breakfast compared to the other days. And oh, the porters are amazing, by the way. They just carry so much more stuff and they are so much faster. But yeah, we then queue at this checkpoint at 4 a.m. and we have to wait till like 5, I think is when it opens, something like that. So we're just sitting there, everyone's kind of queuing, waiting to go, and then we start our hike towards the sun gate, and it's quite cold on this day and quite windy up there. And then we make our way to Machu Picchu, and it's amazing. Got to Machu Picchu and we could see it from like these viewpoints, then it was like, wow, this is amazing, that's so incredible. Like, and also like the sense of achievement that we made it, like that took, you know, 4 days and 3 nights of camping and no showering, and very early mornings. So at this point I was feeling like amazing and feeling really good. But then when we get to Machu Picchu, I feel like because I didn't sleep well actually most nights, the second night was too cold. First night was the music, second night was too cold, and third night the couple in the tent next to me were snoring. so I was like, I just hadn't recharged at all. My watch showed me how like it's the worst sleep I've ever had consistently in a row. And yeah, once we got to Machu Picchu, because I've seen so many sites that were not that busy, and then going here where it's like it's bigger, but there are a lot more crowds, and you're just going from like hiking, seeing like amazing nature, to then like being around people. Like, yeah, I think it just like it wasn't like, I feel like I didn't appreciate the experience at the time, and I was so tired that I was just concentrating on trying to like stay awake and pay attention to the guide. I don't know how the guide had the energy, to be honest. Yeah, I was knackered.
Beautiful phenomenon. The sunrise 7:20 and the sunlight goes. So when we open this, because people is terrible. They the outer ones. It does her lady.
But yeah, it was really amazing, and I'm so glad I did it. Like, you are just 100% focused on the next step, and I was like trying to repeat like positive things to myself, like you know, that I'm grateful for my body, and I'm like very lucky and fortunate to be here, and like, wow, these like views are amazing and I'm doing so well. Yeah, like, and also I didn't have signal for 4 days, so you are just having like very simple days, and it was so like mentally refreshing because you're just out exercising, focusing on your heart rate, your steps, then you eat, and then you try to sleep, and then you do it all over again. You chat a little bit, but you're not like having full-blown conversations because you're like really being tested by the altitude. But I think physically anyone can really do it. Not anyone, but if you are fit in any sort of like capacity, then like you exercise, then I think you can do it. It's just like a matter of how slowly you would do it. Such an amazing experience, and I feel like I can't really describe in words so much how it was. But it's definitely an experience I would highly recommend, and I think like I don't think anyone would do it and wish that they didn't do that. Well, I'm sure there's someone, but it was an amazing experience for me. And by the end of my trip, I just wasn't ready to go home because I just felt like I was like learning so much and seeing so much, and even though I was physically exhausted, I was just mentally refreshed, and it just felt like I was living like a completely different life to my day-to-day life, and I really like that. But then unfortunately on my last day I did get like food poisoning of some sort and have diarrhea, so that was an interesting journey back home, but overall it was amazing, and I definitely would love to go back to Peru, and I definitely want to go back to South America, so hopefully I can soon, because yeah, it was great, and I hope that you enjoyed some of these clips. And if you have any questions, then like feel free to ask me. I'm also going to do a video of like what I packed as well. So hopefully that is helpful.